Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you may be in whatever part of the world you are. My name is Shervin Evans. I've been in ICT for many, many years. I've started out in being in the financial sector for a while, started dealing with programming, spent a lot of time inside the programming environment. I spent a lot of time inside when we look at from the aspect of architecture, designing architecture, building architecture, and building the network so that the programming would be functional across the network, as well as managing cybersecurity as well. I have hold a master's degree inside cybersecurity and have numerous of certification inside architecture, cybersecurity, and also a board member, executive member of Cyber Ed Board, also CISO Society, and also part of a government board where we make recommendations to the government pertaining to laws and regulations pertaining to digital asset as well. And one of the things that I love is being a part of the Rotary. I'm a Rotarian, and being a part of the Rotary IT Fellowship is give me great joy to be around a lot of IT professionals as we continue to find ways to be able to protect the environment. I'm also a distinguished Toastmaster as well, which is a really good program, and I'm dedicated to promoting risk compliance, security, and ICT and resilience. And there's a whole host, and that's just a snippet of some of the things that I do and I'm involved in. But if you always can connect with me on social media to find out more about me. So let's get right into it. We're going to look at, this is our agenda for our time we're going to spend together. We're going to look at what is threat intelligence, and we're going to think about that question for a bit, and then we're going to look at the importance of threat intelligence, and then we're going to ask this question: so why threat hunting in the cloud? Because we know that it is something that we do in on-prem, but why the cloud? Because the cloud is safe. That's what we think. And then we ask a cloud threat landscape. We're going to look at the cloud threat landscape. We're going to look at key techniques and methodologies pertaining to the cloud. We're going to look at some tools for cloud threat hunting. We're going to look at threat hunting, the workflow of threat hunting, how we will follow a pattern to do a proper threat hunting within inside the cloud. And then we're going to think through some real life cases and scenarios where that threat hunting could have been used, and we could have find out this information before it became exploitable. And then we're going to look at some best practices and recommendation. So the question is, what is threat hunting? So we're going to look at this small and simple term that says threat hunting refers to the proactive. So when we look at it, remember, I want you to think about proactive in threat hunting. We want to be able to find everything before it is exploitable. We want to protect our data. We want to know that, be able to detect malicious persons, protect malicious stuff, anything that provide a risk to our data, we want to know. And we want to be able to have advance notice. We just don't want to be able to find out when it happened. We want to find out before it happened and be able to stop it. So the type of threat hunting we have the structured threat hunting based on hypothesis, where we can create a hypothesis on what we think or what we feel or when we gather this information, and we can be able to put something together and say these are the possibilities that we can be able to watch out for. These are the things that we are saying that we need able to watch out for and be able to put in measures to try to protect. Then we have the unstructured threat hunting. So it's based on experience and abnormality detection. So this one means that you detect abnormally, and then you also is based on your experience, what you would have seen in the past. So it's unstructured. It's not structured saying that I remember seeing this in the past, I can respond to this, or it's an anomaly detection from a system that you have that you can put in place. And then we have situational hunting. We look at events. We look at sample like breaches. And so it is a situation that happened. So we began to look at certain things that we are able to utilize to find ways to protect our data and secure our data and secure our environment. So how important is threat hunting? I want us to remember that this is very important when we think about threat hunting. Threat hunting is crucial for strengthening the cybersecurity posture and protecting against sophisticated attacks. So remember, we are trying to protect our data. We are responsible for protecting the company's data. So we want to be able to do a proactive approach to it to be able to attack. And we know that some of the cybersecurity attacks are sophisticated. And because they are sophisticated, we need stuff like AI to be able to help us to be able to make sure that we integrate AI and the tools that actually have AI based within our environment, because we don't want the threat to bypass security measures and sit down and lurk within our infrastructure without us even knowing that it's there. This proactive approach helps organizations identify and address vulnerabilities to reduce. This is what we want to do: reduce attacks, and we want to avoid downtime. And any time when we have a downtime for an extended period of time, we don't want that. That's something that we try to minimize. And then we want to make sure that it doesn't damage the company. We have reputational risk that it could damage. We also could damage the data as well, that the data is no good. So we want to do what we can to be able to protect our data, which is almost like you protecting the goal, and you don't want no one to score the goal if you're playing soccer. I'm not a soccer player, but I noticed that the goalie has a lot of work to do. So you want to be able to make sure that that attacker doesn't hit anything inside between that post within that goal. Again, we want to detect hidden threats. We want to be able to help uncover threats that is traditional security tools cannot miss. So when you use traditional security tools, it may not be able to detect abnormally based kind of threats. So it may be looking more of a known threats, and because it's looking for known threats as opposed to looking for a certain pattern or a certain abnormality from the threats, it would miss those kind of things. So we want to be able to detect hidden threats. We want to improve our incident response. When we threat hunt, we will be able to change our incident response and be able to adapt and move quickly by identifying the threat early. Threat hunters can improve incident response capability by reducing detection and the response time. So when you are dealing with your incidents, one of the things that you want to be able to do is be able to detect and then respond quickly. You want to also be able to enhance your security posture. Threat hunting strengthens security postures by proactively identifying and addressing vulnerabilities. And like we said, we want to be able to identify these quickly. We want to be able to address them quickly. And we want to ensure that we are protecting the institution data. Reduce business risk by identifying and stopping threats before they cause significant damage. So you want to be able to reduce business risk as well. You want to stay ahead of the attack. So what you're doing is we are proactively taking a proactive approach. We want to stay ahead of everything. We do not want to be lagging behind. And in the way how cybersecurity continues to shift, we want to ensure that we are staying ahead of everything. There are times where we may miss certain things, but we don't want to miss everything. At least we want to be able to capture some stuff if we are staying ahead of things. So now the question is, why threat hunt? So before we look at why we ask this very important question, why should we threat hunt? We're going to step back a little and understand a little about the cloud. And we're not going to deep dive into it. We're just going to take a surface approach to remind everyone what is the cloud, what is the cloud, and what are the cloud capabilities. So the cloud is and for those who don't understand what the cloud is all about, just to give them an insight. So here is a definition that can be found on the NIST publication 800 and 145. Is cloud computing provides a quick and easy access to computing resource that can be rapidly provisioned. So when you look at things, you want to be able to rapidly provision. You want to be able to release minimal management effort overhead, and you want to be able to interact with the service providers such as the network, the servers, the storage, the application, and the services. You want to be able to ensure that you still are able to interact with those things. So we're looking at 5 essential characteristics here. We want to ensure that it provides on-demand self-service. It provides broad network access, resource pooling, rapid elasticity, and measured service. And these are some of the characteristics we are looking at from when we think about from a cloud perspective. And there are 4 main deployment models. We know that we have public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, and community cloud, as well as the 3 service models. Now we know there are many as service out there, ransomware as a service, and all of those different services that they may have out there, and we start seeing so many things that's spinning up. But we want to think of as infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So now we ask the question, and we know what cloud is. We have a little snippet of what we think it is all about. So now we go back to our important question of the day. Say, why threat hunt in the cloud? Well, threat hunting in the cloud is essential because cloud environments are complex. That's the first point. It is changing fast. Every time you see there's a new service, there is something changing with inside the cloud and with the services that are being offered. It's often difficult to monitor using traditional tools. So because of the rapid change, the complexity, using traditional tools will make it a little difficult to be able to stay on top. An attacker can exploit these conditions to hide undetected. By actively searching for usual or malicious activity, an organization can uncover threats early, respond quickly, and better protect their data and system. So we hear these words again being matched up. We understand response quickly, better protect their data. So that is some of the focus that we need to remember, that we want to be able to respond quickly and we want to be able to protect the data. Again, this is an additional says that as more business move to their workload, to the cloud, workload data, services, all to the cloud, such cloud environment as AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, they face unique security risk. So we're supposed to be manage the risk. So they will face unique security risks that differ from on-prem setup. So when we think with on-premise setup, we know that the risk may be a little different, and we know that there's so many different things that comes along with the cloud environment. We know that cloud is good, and so we know that the benefits of the clouds are good, but we also know that the same approach of protection that we were doing on-prem, we should consider with the cloud as well. These environments introduce vulnerabilities such as misconfiguration. Think about that now, misconfiguration, which also can happen on-prem as well. But here it is because of the changes and you're not getting familiar with those services as quickly. There's a possibility of misconfiguration. It could be misconfiguration with a firewall, misconfiguration even with identity management as well. And it can expose the company to data to access by some malicious person. So let's look at the cloud threat landscape and look at the key threat environments that we talk about. misconfigured storage could be an issue that we could run into. Misconfigured container that can be exposed, that persons can automatically have access to that, and data could be inside there. It could be stolen API keys and access token because it is not configured properly or misconfigured or whatever it may. Someone can gain access to that information and utilize that information to access the environment. Then we have excessive identity management privilege. You can not understand how the identity management privilege is configured, and then someone can have more access than they really should. We can also have malicious insiders. We can have cloud control plane compromise and lateral movement from hybrid to cloud as well. Because inside, when we're looking at hybrid and cloud, if on-prem, there's some configuration where on-prem persons are not fully in the cloud. They may have a hybrid set model, and then those two environments might be connected. And when we look at movement between both of these environments, the possibility that it could be where that on-prem is compromised and lateral movement over into the cloud. So we're going to look at common attack techniques. The MITRE attack for cloud, which this is a very this MITRE is really good for when you're looking at cloud. It's good for so many different things that you can use with inside cybersecurity. This matrix is broad. The framework, the designs to help organizations. We want to identify and respond to security risks within the cloud environment. It's categorized the tactics, techniques, and procedures used by attackers. So it takes the tactics, techniques, and procedures, and it actually aligns them so that it will be able to help us as security individuals or professionals to be able to know exactly how we will be able to put us in a position to be able to protect the data. So let's look at some. What is the common attack? We're going to look at some common attack. We're going to look at initial access. We think about spear phishing. We look at compromised credential. We look at access token abuse, privilege escalation over premises. So here it is that persons can have escalated privilege. We can talk about that. Lateral movement between two clouds like we mentioned before. And we can talk about infiltration. So here is the matrix and what the matrix looks like. So as you can see from the matrix, you can see initial access to the very top. You can see execution. You can see privilege escalation. We can see as we go through, we can see as we see drop down boxes here, and it will tell us exactly all the things that actually can come underneath those particular heading that we can assist us in being able to fight or protect our data using this matrix. The threat hunting technique in the cloud. We talked about again, and here's this word again, hypothesis driven, where that we look at this example. If an attacker compromises a particular function within AWS, they may escalate privilege using the IAM role. So when we look at the second one, anomaly detection, we have behavioral baseline of cloud workload, logins, traffic patterns, and we can see learn on deviations. For example, you're looking at admin account 3 a.m. in the morning. So 3 a.m. in the morning, your admin logging in at 3 a.m. in the morning, and your admin should be sleeping unless something happened and you know that's unusual. So you will say that, hold on now, something is wrong here with my admin, and I would need to look into this. We're looking at indicator of compromise, using unknown indicator, IP hash, domains, behaviors, correlation against the cloud logs. So you want to look at the cloud logs and look at to see if there's any indicators that will alarm you in stating that, oh, something is going on. But when you use AI based in this environment, what you are doing now is, as opposed to you actually doing all the checks, the AI now tools are monitoring what's going on and then are able to alert us as we can have that comfortable sleep at night. So this is where, again, we use artificial intelligence to help us. We look at tactics, techniques, and procedures. Again, we use the MITRE, again, matrix, and we can map things back to what is going on. We can use that matrix to say that, okay, this is lateral movement. And when I look at lateral movement and I see all the different indicators on the lateral movement, something is obviously wrong here. So I can now go and start checking and be able to look and see what is going on and have that advanced notice on. So let's look at some data sources for data for threat hunting. Threat hunting, data sources for threat hunting is really, really important as well. You want to ensure that you are be able to collect data from a variety of sources to analyze for potential threat. You want to ensure that these threats may bypass all the traditional security measures. So you want to be able to know exactly what's going on from the time externally as the data comes through or that access comes through straight all the way down to the endpoint. And you want to be able to look for different techniques. You want to look for anomalies. You want to be able to identify patterns. Whatever it is that you trying to do, you just want to make sure that you are being on top of things and you are ahead of what's going on. So these are some of the data sources for threat hunting. We AWS have CloudTrail, we see GuardDuty. These are and a lot of these things are built into your cloud platform already. And we have Azure has activity log. We have Google as cloud audit. So when you look at a lot of these as we go through, you will see a lot of these are built in, and it will be good to use some of these things to be able to gather some information and pull information for you to be able to analyze or put it into your utilities that can provide analysts for you. Tools for cloud threat hunting. They are open source and they are native tools. We have AWS again has another tools. We have another tools for Falco and runtime detection for containers. We have OS Query again has a explore runtime details, and we have cloud, and there are so much different tools that are out there that can be used, and these are some of the open source tools that you can utilize that will help you, and these are some of the commercial tools that can assist as well. And we know that name CrowdStrike will take you back to what happened, but nevertheless the tool that they have is really good for assisting with threat hunting inside the cloud. SentinelOne is another great tool. I had the opportunity to work with SentinelOne for many years, and the tool is pretty good. Microsoft Defender for Cloud is another good tool, and as we go, Palo Alto have another good tool, and as we can see, all these different tools, even Splunk has another a good tool, and then also another one that is not here is Rapid7 as well, has another good tool that will be able to assist you inside threat hunting. And by the way, all of those tools have AI base built into them. So let's look at the threat hunting workflow. We have the preparation. We need to understand the environment. You need to understand, be able to inventory your architecture, understand where your assets are. So if you don't understand your environment, it's kind of difficult for you to be able to determine exactly what's going on inside your network or what's going on inside your environment. So you have to really understand your environment, have it really mapped out. You want to create a hypothesis as well. Use threat intel or hunting to trigger alert and abnormality. So this is where you gather information and you can create what you think is a possibility could happen or have happened, and you want to take that and find ways that you can utilize this information after you gathered that and be able to assist you be able to stop whatever attack. Again, you want to be able to collect data collection, aggregate that data into one location. We can use things like SIM to be able to aggregate all that data, bring that together, and have an AI utility run on that and pull out the information that you need to be looking at and some of the ones that are high that you should be considered. Then we want to use queries, ML, and behavior model. So these are things that will assist you in being able to find out what is going on as you collect your data. And then we have investigation. Find the findings, going through the triggers, trying to triage everything. You try to ensure that you can map every single thing out using this particular workflow that will assist you. And then you want to be able to respond. Once you determine that here it is, that I think that the likelihood that we either could be breached in this particular area, or I believe that we may have been breached in this, or there's a vulnerability here, we are able to respond quickly because we did the necessary threat hunting. And these are some of the breach that we will just go through quickly. When we look at the breaches where threat hunting could have been used and we could have helped, we look at Capital One in 2019, misconfiguration, AWS WAF, exploited by insider. So threat hunting, when we over here, could help abnormally S3 access behavior and usual EC2 metadata queries. It could have gone through with that. It could have looked at the IAM rules and be able to assist you. We see SolarWinds here as well in 2020, and we see supply chains malware. We look at Uber in 2022, and we see the MFA fatigue plus credential compromise. And over here, we see where that their threat hunting could have actually attacked these things and could assist in being able to help them to prevent these things from happening. And we go on and we see other breaches happen within the environment within the year to come. And we know that threat hunting can assist. And I think that we should use threat hunting to assist us inside these things. And these are some additional ones on where that we could have used the MITRE framework, the relevance of the breach, and the MITRE framework could you map this back. So I wanted to see that Capital One, and you could take a look at the MITRE framework, and you could see that it provides the indicator numbers, and it will tell you exactly where that indicator number is tied back to, and it will have been able to map everything back. So as you can see, we did a mapping using the MITRE framework as well for persons to be able to see and see how this framework can assist us. So let's look at this best practices. We want to centralize and normalize cloud logs. And these are some of the stuff we could use, SAM, Sonar. We want to be able to find those, go through those logs and be able to see exactly what is going on. Remember, we are threat hunting. We want to know things before it happened, not after. So we're trying to get on things right away and know exactly what's going on within our infrastructure. We can use the MITRE Cloud Matrix for structured threat hunting. Remember, we talk about structured threat hunting, and this is one of the ways that we can do structured threat hunting. We may not have the utilities, but we will know that we still have a framework out there that can assist us in still doing threat hunting. And continuous review and refine IAM rules. I believe that IAM rules and any credential rules should be reviewed at least annually. You don't just give access and leave it alone. you have to give access, but you have to continually monitor that access and review that access to make sure that nothing has changed. Or some persons may have switched role, but they may have maintained that access, and you need to ensure that that access that they had for that particular position has been changed. You don't want to let them maintain that access. And you want to apply least privilege and zero trust. Least privilege saying that I only given you the access that you need to be able to perform your task. And zero trust principle said that I trust nobody. So you want to give them the access that they need, but get this, you still don't trust anyone. Whether they have the access or not, you still don't trust them. Implement things like deception, like honeypot, fake credentials. These are things can assist you. A honeypot can actually help you to be able to know exactly what's going on in your network. You can detect something malicious going on in the network ahead of time, and you can respond, because the person might think that they have an active system that they are actually breaching, but here it is that your honeypot, they have access to your honeypot, and you are able to know exactly what's going on right away and act immediately. Automate wherever it's possible. Automate. I cannot say that enough. Automate everything. You do not have to do manual process, and that's what AI comes in for. AI here to help us to be able to automate everything that we need to do. And then build cloud specific detection rule. You want to build those rules that you can be able to detect, as opposed to not knowing what's going on. You want to be able to detect and know what's going on. It's okay to be nosy on what's going on inside your environment. And in conclusion, I want you to give you these few takeaways that you want to just remember. Cloud threat hunting is a proactive defense layer. So you want to proactively detect and be able to respond to mitigate the risk to your company's data. So you want to be able to react proactively to response. Success requires visibility. You need to be able to see what's going on, know what's going on. When I said that you have to be nosy, you have to be nosy. You have to be inquisitive to know exactly what's going on in the environment. Collaboration. Collaboration is key. We always hear that collaboration and the word key always goes together, right? But collaboration is key. It's always good to collaborate what's going on inside the organization, collaborate amongst yourselves within the technical environment. And there's also collaboration out of the organization, because there are persons who have information that you can use that can assist you to protect your organization and be able to help you with your threat hunting abilities and protect your organization's data. So collaboration is important. Integrate threat intelligence and automation to scale. Again, the word again, automation, but integrate threat intelligence as well, because when you look at threat hunting, threat intelligence also is integrated, and they are hand in hand. When you have both of them working together, then it gives you the information that you need to be able to protect your organization. And regularly hunt, you need to improve your detection. You need to ensure that the information that you are gaining from detection from your devices, you need to ensure that it is giving you accurate information. So you want to continue to improve your threat detection as well, because there might be false positive, and you want to ensure that you are able to minimize those false positives, and you're not overburdened with those false positives. You want to get the actual information that you need to be able to protect your company's data as much as possible. Thank you very much. I'm Shelby. Thank you very much for the question. No, it doesn't. It doesn't provide programming knowledge. Not because I mentioned that I was a programmer in the past, but it doesn't require programming knowledge. So anyone who understands, it will guide you through the whole process. So no, it doesn't require programming on, so you don't have to worry about being a programmer for threat hunting. Yes, they can also be used for bug bounty hunting. And in fact, a lot of the information that I placed here, I actually would have taken those from stuff that pertain to bug bounty hunting so that persons will understand that even the ones who recognize as a bug bounty will automatically know that, hey, I use these stuff. So yes, you can use the same thing for bug bounty hunting. Now, I will have to place the screen back on, but what you can do is that you can either send the question in or you can hit me up on social media and I can actually provide you with some additional tools that you can use that can help you as well. Well, the cloud providers actually, if you notice that you do have some sort of logs with inside your environment, but they will give it to you as some sort of a service. So when you building out your environment and before you sign any contract, you will go and check and see that those stuff can be used as a service where that you are able to collect certain logs. They are there, but you just have to pay for as a service. And once you pay for them, you can gain the necessary logs that is coming from your environment. And when you look at your environment, no one should be able not allow you to have logs that is a part of your that actually allow you to be able to see what is going on in your environment. You need to know exactly what's going on in your environment. Even if it's a paid service, I suggest that you get that service to be able to gather information to know what's going on in your environment, but they do offer it. Well, you will have to hit me up. If you can hit me up offline, I can be able to share some links with you and tell you exactly where you can get some of them. But also, what is a good training ground as well, where you can get a whole list of information as well. EC Consult have a cloud training program that will steer you and provide you with a lot of information that you need and links in abundance to be able to assist you in a lot of these stuff if you want to take that approach. If not, you can always hit me up on Instagram, not Instagram, on LinkedIn, and I can share some links with you. MITRE ATT&CK framework. Um, you remember that MITRE ATT&CK framework they have two. One is cloud, and they have one that you can use on-prem. What it does is that it helps you to do that statistical mapping, that structured mapping on what is going on. When you look at one area, for instance, as we say, lateral movement. When you look at lateral movement, you want to understand exactly what is lateral movement, what all of that actually goes on the lateral movement. But when you look at the MITRE, you will go there and say, oh, lateral movement includes this. It includes this. It includes this. So what it does when it pulls down all of those links, you now have ways that it will tell you that this is what you need to secure. This is what you need to secure. And it will provide help and instructions on what you need to secure. So it is a really good framework. I think that you should take a look at it at their website, and you will see as you go through it, because it's free. It is free to be able to use and take a look at as much as you can, and it's free for you to use. So I recommend that you take a look at it as well. What they need to do is actually, the thing with your being able to get the most out of these tools is that word that I mentioned before, being able to minimize the false positive. If you can actually, first, it must learn your environment. You don't go into it providing certain information. It needs to take time and understand your environment. That's the first thing it should do. Understand your environment, understand the traffic, understand the data pattern within inside your environment. And then when you begin to once it knows your environment and you begin to turn it on for it to start doing certain detection, you will have a lot of false positive. When you begin to minimize and address those false positive, then you will get the best out of the tools once it already went through, learned the environment, and it can minimize those false positive. And then you will start seeing the benefit of the tool, and the tool will really work. Even when you are sleeping, the tool are actually working for your environment and protecting the environment while you sleep. It usually be configuration, misconfiguration, and also identity management, providing persons with too much access. Either because someone didn't understand the configuration and didn't do it properly, or didn't get the necessary assistance to do the configuration. You'll have misconfiguration, and then the next one will be giving persons more access than they should. They are the two that I've seen a lot in the past. Thank you very much for that question. I know that I'm a person who, not in some cases, usually be crazy over open source, but as I utilize them, because when you have budget constraints, you find out that there's a lot of ways that they can assist you pertaining to open source. So I do not knock a lot of the open source in many cases. What the thing with what you have to do is you have to find a way to protect your data, and the data doesn't leave the company with open source, because some of those open source utilities could have data saved inside some other region, some other cloud environment. You want to make sure that, look, I can use this open source environment, this utility, but as long as my data is actually centric and protected and still stay within the environment, then that's fine with me. We don't want the data to leave the company. And then it said that we analyze the data, and then you have to go to another website to review that data, that it will remain inside that particular environment. So there are cases where open source can be used, and I do not tell you not to use it, but all I will say is that look at exactly where your data is being saved. You want to make sure that the data remains within the company and not leaving the company. And then you want to ensure that you have the necessary access to that data at any given time, and not just letting the data just filter out of the company. And if once you can determine that, then you can utilize open source. So I'm not telling you that no, open source are bad. I would have said that before, but since when it comes to budget constraint, there are times when I had to use open source in the past to assist me with threat hunting and protecting the environment. The top three difficulty, it's when I see that, what I saw is the same thing I think I alluded to before. Also, it's always be it, misconfiguration, the misconfiguration, and persons not understanding the environment. I know AI is the new buzzword. Everyone say AI, AI, AI. But here it is that you're not understanding your environment. And again, you are not, we have to understand exactly what are we going to use AI for. So sometimes it might be just a policy and guideline within the organization to say that these are the areas and these what we will use AI for, and how AI will be implemented inside the organization. And these are some of the areas of what I saw in the past, where persons just went out and AI and then utilized the AI environment in their environment, and then find out that the data is actually leaving the company as opposed to the data remaining within the organization. And we don't want the organization to leave. So these are some of the things that challenges I've seen in the past. Misconfiguration, one. The policies are not there to say how AI will be used within the environment, so that that guideline is in place, so that we know that we only can use AI in these particular instances, was not there. And persons just went out and put all type of AI technology within the environment, and things start just going out of crazy, out of whack, and data just start being placed where it should be, where you need to understand where all your data lies. So these are some of the things, challenges I saw. The biggest gaps is still learning. They are still learning, and we have to help them along. What it does is that AI is used to assist us from doing the tedious tasks that we have to do, or sit up there and map things out. But it's still learning, and it needs us to help them to consistently learn, so it will work within our environment well. It is something that is really great to have in your environment. It is really good to utilize it, but it's still learning. Just remember that it's still learning. Don't just put it inside there and say that it's supposed to work. Why isn't it working the way I need it to work? You remember, they're still learning. This technology is still being learned, and it's still being worked on. So we have to help it along and try to be able to structure it for our environment, because each environment is different and we will use it differently in each environment. So you want to remember that it is still learning. The technology is growing and we will get there. Whether you are actually just starting out or whether you are advanced or mid-advanced, we know that using AI is an exciting thing for all of us, and being able to make our workload a lot easier. One, remember, as I said before, it is still learning. We have to help it along as we learn. And if you want more information and you want to consistently grow, I would just recommend one of the EC Console courses that you can take, and it will also guide you and help you on your way in understanding threat hunting in the cloud, and cloud in particular. And the sky's the limit. Just continue to learn and continue to push, and we will get there. And remember to have fun. Don't let it be all dull and all work. Have fun and have some excitement when you learn, as we learn. Thank you very much for attending, and I'm glad to be here.